Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to a MESA roundtable discussion about COVID-19 and its impact on digital transformation. In reality, it's also about digital transformation's impact on people affected by COVID-19, businesses affected, because it has managed to help some businesses survive more effectively than they would otherwise have had. So, first of all, there's just a bit of housekeeping for you. Just the tool that you're using today to join in. This is how you open and close the panel that will help you to control your interactions. And very important, we hope this will be an interactive session, and your questions will guide the direction of the panel discussions. We have a panel of experts that will respond to your questions. So please look out the questions box, click it, and be ready to enter your questions and suggestions and thoughts and insights there that we can read out. We won't have an open mic, but we will be able to tell everybody your thoughts and insights. So yeah, it's being recorded, and it will be available to premium members at the end. Uwe, our chairman for EMEA in MESA, has something that he'll give you at the end in terms of some other statistics that we've had from other webinars and exercises. So the purpose this morning is for, initially I'm going to hopefully provide you with some context of digital transformation in respect of COVID-19 and vice versa. And some thought provocation, so trying to highlight topics that you might find interesting, or you might have some insight or some questions on. So please, while I'm presenting and while Desmond is presenting afterwards, please enter your questions and thoughts into the chat box, into the questions box, and then at the end of the roundtable discussion, we'll all join in and use your input and questions. After I've done the thought provocation, Desmond Savage, who is the Special Interest Group Chairman for MESA Ireland, he's going to then show you some insights and materials from MESA that where some of our insights and guidance would help in you applying your digital transformation. Note that during both sessions we have a few polling questions, so check out the polls on the user interface and be ready to click on that. So just people on the call, there will be a mix of people that are MESA members and understand what we're about, and others maybe that this is their first time. So just as a little bit of perspective, speaking with the voice of the industry's practitioners. So MESA has over 250 manufacturers worldwide as members who contribute their thoughts and insights, but also receive guidance and advice from their colleagues and counterparts and people from other industries. So 250 manufacturers are members. 140 plus solution providers are in, so you have experts to share their insights, and then at least another 50 of system integrators, consultants, analysts, press, and academics. So it's a big community of people that really know their stuff. And what we're here today to do is to encourage a bit of peer-to-peer. So when you enter your questions and we respond, we'll be educating each other. And at the same time, so Desmond's piece on points of view, MESA runs a lot of committees and workshops and working groups on all smart manufacturing related topics, and Desmond will share some of those with you today. But the Global Education Program is there to help you be digital experts. And yeah, so that's sort of where we're at today. These are the parts of MESA's world that we're trying to share. So just to give you that thought provocation, we thought it would be interesting to look at it from two different perspectives. Some industries, some businesses have been hit by high demand under COVID restriction, and in particular life science and food and beverage and the like. These some of these have survived extremely well. Those that have already embraced the digital world. Some of the others that are hit with high demand maybe will struggle to keep up. So what I'll do is I'll just look down the right-hand side first and just sort of consider the types of digital things that may have been brought into action by digital leaders already, and then look down the left-hand side and see which ones of those may have helped, or their absence may have hindered people that are now under high demand but having to deal with the special constraints of dealing with COVID on the workforce and the supply chain. So obviously we know that digital transformation is to move away from low automation, manual operations. Obviously that implies people. Paper-based instructions, again, implies people, and management by gut instinct and opinion, which gets us so far. But actually, when that person with their opinion and expertise disappears for a short while, the business is in real trouble. So if you have automated processes, they should be able to continue whether you have the full complement of staff or not. Digital dashboards, etc., can be consumed on a mobile device from home instead of having to be in the factory, for instance. So people can continue to contribute to the safe and efficient running of the operation without, while complying with the restrictions. Predictive analytics help guide people to make good decisions, better decisions perhaps than they would otherwise. And when you're faced with a group of people that are now trying to run an operation, perhaps that weren't the original team that had all the training, these things can help. Demand-driven manufacturing, so the supply chain coordination, if that was digital all the way out into the supply chain and back into manufacturing, the coordination, which has been a bit of a challenge, that would be much better. And remote operation in particular has fallen to be a problem. So looking onto the left-hand side, one of the key things, obviously, there is high demand, and you can't be entirely sure who is going to be available on any particular shift, and even available, for a few weeks at a time. So being able to support them remotely, digitally, you've got your operations people that need to keep the plant running, but then you've got engineering, maintenance, IT, safety, etc. They can all still contribute. If, for instance, you have augmented reality connectivity to the plant, then these specialists can spread their knowledge and their advice to the operation staff, perhaps who are unfamiliar with this piece of equipment because they haven't had to run it before, and you can keep them safe and keep them efficient. And again, you can, if you capture the skills that are needed to operate, and if you do that before this disaster occurs or this challenge occurs, you will have staff being able to be guided through augmented reality, for instance, or workflow instructions that guide them step by step. The UK Ventilator Consortium was put together. The people, companies like GKN, Airbus, Ford, Meggitt, Rolls-Royce, Thales, none of them involved in previously in life science or medical device related activities, and they were brought together to help create ventilators at a high rate. They had to ramp up production from 1,000 ventilators to a week to 20,000 in very short order. And how they did that was capturing the expertise of the people that knew how to build the ventilators, capturing that in augmented reality work instructions and step-by-step workflows, and then everybody in those other companies that used to make airplanes or motor cars, etc., they were then instantly able to transform their operations and the skills of their staff into people that make ventilators. So a great example. Also, on the sort of workflow guidance side of things, for the inexperienced staff that maybe have to now run the factory, those that have got a manufacturing execution system, they would already be well served. And typically, as MESA has looked at the statistics, 8 to 18% more productivity in general is the sort of range of improvement. So you should be able to run with, sort of 8 to 18% less staff and still be able to produce. And then finally, machine learning predictions. If there is guidance on sort of operating envelopes that you should stay within, and should I switch this off? Should I switch production to this other line? Those that already have machine learning predictions supporting their decision support, they're going to do a lot better. So yeah, upping the game while challenged on staff availability for high demand is one aspect. And the opposite is also true, that some factories, some manufacturers have had to shut down because they've got no demand, but also maybe because they cannot supply, because they cannot run their factories with the staff and comply with lockdown rules, etc. So the cost of that is immense, as we all know, and could they have avoided shutting down at all? You may have heard of the phrase "lights out manufacturing." Now, if and it's an entirely possible, it's quite a difficult thing to achieve, where effectively everything within the factory is automated, which means that you don't need lights on because you don't need people inside the plant running it. It runs itself. Feed it with materials and out comes products. Now, it's absolutely a possibility through smart manufacturing that this could be achieved. And if you had gone a proportion of the way towards that, then you would have sailed through, apart from supply chain perhaps, but you would have sailed through this challenge and carried on being able to make product and make money and keep your business together. So the sorts of things that may have helped if people had invested maybe a year or two ago in manufacturing execution, if it was appropriate, Internet of Things, IoT platforms to help with digital visibility, augmented reality and machine learning. I've described how they could be applied. Additive manufacturing, meaning you don't have to, like machines can make parts that humans might have had to have processed before. The full digital thread and product lifecycle management, a digital thread running all the way through from design to product production, commissioning, and long-term support. These would have helped. And simulation. So you could even simulate new situations like this and work out how to keep producing through it. So another aspect, hopefully now with the vaccines coming out, we're heading towards a restart. And it would be interesting to know what you think about the restart, and the restart. Maybe a supply chain is going to be a challenge because some parts of the supply chain will be up and others will be down. So new remote working habits, I think they'll stay probably. I think we've all got used to them and they are quite effective. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what you think about that and how that will pan out through the rest of the year, perhaps the next 3 or 4 years. Is that going to continue? So again, I'm hoping that you will be entering questions in the question window based on maybe some of the things I've said, or things that issues and agendas you already have. Just a thought on that last sort of rather dismal one of where businesses have failed. I'm wondering if your business has considered this in terms of a risk calculation, in that if a business has effectively stopped making money for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, what's the risk that this will happen again, and what sort of investment would be rational to make in order to fend against it? So I looked at all of the pandemics and show-stopping pandemics since 1860 and calculated what the percentage chance was with it. So with a 95% confidence interval, it's somewhere between 1 and 3%. So 1 in 100 years, or 3 in 100 years, or 1 in 30. So that's the sort of chance that we're dealing with, that this type of challenge will happen again. And if you, for instance, I just threw some numbers together, if it's a $500 million business with a 10% margin, if you take the mid-range of there, 2% risk is $1 million. This is rationally the sort of amount that you should invest in order to combat similar sorts of challenges. So I will leave you with that thought. But the idea is that if you realize you will invest, you will need a roadmap. You'll need to work out how to do that, and that's what Desmond is going to do. Is going to cover, give you some insights from MESA's view on that. So we were interested, if you would look at the poll window, we'd be interested to ask you if you would contribute your thoughts on the first question. So how has your business been affected by COVID-19? Positively, i.e., production has ramped up, no impact, or negatively impacted. So I wonder if you would start to contribute. Okay, so I can see it's pretty even at the moment, actually. I guess you can see the same thing on your collected responses. Now it's well, that is interesting. So it's oh no, it stopped. I thought I could show you. I can't. Just go back to the polls. So it's surprisingly even. Yeah, so we've got like 29% positively impacted, 38% little or no impact. Now I'm surprised about that, and 33% negatively impacted. That's very interesting. So hopefully, maybe the board members on the panel at the end will they may have some responses or insights to some of your polling. So thank you for that. That's very interesting. Could we go to the second poll question? So how has your business's attitude towards digital transformation changed this year? Has it become more urgent, less urgent, or no change? So if you go to the second poll. Okay, now that's an interesting, so there's a surge at the moment on more urgent. Yes, at the moment, a clear winner for more urgent, or no change. I guess if you already were thinking about digital transformation, then I guess you would just continue. But yeah, thank you. That's really interesting. Yeah, so 44% more urgent, 20% less, and 36% no change. Okay, and I think what we've seen bears that out, that there has been quite a switch. One of our board members has some insights on IT budgeting and things as response to COVID. So just going to move on to Desmond now, and Desmond is going to share with you points of view around analytics and developing a roadmap. So I'll just switch presenter to Desmond. Coming to you, Des.
Thanks, Steve.
There you go.
Just double check Steve's slides showing up okay again.
Yes, they are.
Slides okay, Steve? Oh, great. Okay,
Sorry,
thank
yes,
you,
all
guys.
good.
Yeah.
I went on mute. Sorry, yes.
No worries. Okay, Steve, thanks for that introduction. Desmond Savage, as Steve mentioned, I'm the MESA Special Interest Group Chair for MESA in Ireland. Just to kind of pick up again a bit about MESA and the background, Steve explained the community that's involved in MESA. And maybe a bit further on the global education program. Over the last number of years, there's been an emphasis to bring a lot of the global education online as well. So the global education can be offered online, but also there's a classroom-based global education program. And this is how actually I got involved in MESA about 10 years ago. I intended a 4-day classroom program. And one of the things that jumped out to me from the feedback from that program was there was a number of senior executives from big multinationals on it, but one executive stated that the feedback he gave on it was that he wished he went on the course earlier, because it definitely changed their strategy on how they'd be rolling out manufacturing IT. So very good content there as well. And then the other aspects of MESA is peer-to-peer, which is today is a good example of, but we do have committees working. These committees can be regional, such as the committee that the group today is on, which is the EMEA committee, but also there are steering groups who work on specific topics. And the output of these steering groups often is a white paper that's published and made available on the MESA resource library. So this content isn't available for free. You have to be a MESA member to access this content. Speaking from my own example, working as an independent MES MAMP consultant, I will always refer to this repository of information to help on the projects I work on. MESA is a non-for-profit organization, but there is costs involved in developing this content and running webinars such as this, in promoting MESA. So all the membership fees are put back into MESA to try and help move forward the initiative, which is creating a community to explore best practices around where manufacturing meets IT. So if you're not already involved in MESA, I really encourage you to check out the website. You can see some abstracts and that of the white papers and that, and if you reach out to any of us who are based across Europe, we can talk to you about membership and maybe explore what interests are specific to you. So secondly, then I'd just like to encourage, I see there's a couple of questions starting to come in, but any questions that people have, any burning issues, thoughts that come in before this webinar, be much appreciated if you put them into the question box, because following on from me, we have our panel discussion, and we'd really like to kind of lead that discussion based on questions from the audience today. So yeah, so I'll move on then. So I'll be discussing point of view, which is I picked out two white papers that have recently been published by some steering groups within MESA. The first one is Analytics That Matters. This was done in conjunction with a research organization based out of Boston called lnsresearch.com. And it's about the report itself is about a 50-page report. On the MESA repository as well, there's an over-hour webinar that goes through this report in detail as well, involving MESA and LNS, so good listen. From a sample size, the study was conducted across over 6,000 plants globally. Within the report is a breakdown of the size of plants, etc., geographics, etc. But it was a very well spread and quite a large sample size, as you can see over 6,000, which is represented by which represents over 3.5 million employees. The report, the information was started to be gathered late 2019 up until about February or March, so just around the time COVID was impacting. So the authors decided that they would run some further studies through March and June, just to see, of the people who responded, to see how COVID was actually impacting them in March and June. And as can be seen, there was an immediate impact. There's a lot of red there in March, for example. Maybe companies had to think about their strategies with people going off work, as Steve highlighted, like the companies were affected, and our surveys have showed that even today that companies were affected. So this would have had a ripple down effect onto projects. So those maybe least affected were projects such as health and safety, while those most effective, you can see maybe the quality management system. Maybe it was felt that could be postponed. However, come June, things were starting to pick up again, and you could even see some projects were starting to speed up, such as the connected worker technology, and again, the pace around health and safety was picked up. So this was just a kind of a sample, but I thought it was good, but seeing how companies were reacting during this year in relation to big manufacturing IT projects. Okay, so that's kind of one aspect of the report. So kind of going into the main details of the report, it's focusing around analytics, and it breaks down analytics into kind of 5 maturities where companies might start off an analytics program around descriptive, which is describing what happened, moving up the maturity level slightly, and then maybe using the manufacturing IT or the IT to diagnose why it happened. Next level of maturity, Steve mentioned it, is about being predictive. So using the data to actually predict faults before they will become or they occur. So what will happen? And then finally, the last 2 kind of levels of maturity where a lot of people will be striving towards is prescriptive. So we know there's a problem coming, and the software is smart enough to actually kind of suggest actions for people to take. Whereas the final one is actually maybe full control loop, whereas the automation is actually making corrections and improving the problems before they happen, and maybe confirm on the changes made and the positive outcome from that. So that's kind of sets out the roadmap for analytics for companies to work towards. As part of the survey as well, so maybe just describe just a bit of detail. So this white paper is part of a series of white papers which began about 10 years ago. So every 2 to 3 years, the guys are refreshing this white paper. So they were able to compare against the stats of 2018. And as can be seen, there has been a big movement towards especially diagnostic and predictive over the last couple of years, which is both moving above companies saying that they have these analytics more than 50%, whereas the growth maybe to the next level, which around prescriptive and prognostic hasn't significantly shifted. So just again, it's kind of some interesting insights, and we have a poll kind of trying to establish maybe where your company's at. And then another interesting kind of survey was as part of this white paper, they drilled into who the people that are involved within the companies around analytics, and based on the responses they were getting, they created 2 groups. They created IX, which is industrial transformation, leaders and followers, and they were able to classify these groups based on the maturity and the answers and the quantitative data they received in the survey. So IX leaders are seen to be leading the way, and followers maybe less so, but are still involved. So again, you can see some of the results there yourselves. That the companies that are deemed to have industrial transformation leaders have in the last few years are focusing very much on the concept of data science, it becoming a new part of the business. Some of the feedback they got during the report was, for example, maybe the IT folks or operation folks saw the value of data and wanting to use analytics more in the plant, but maybe they weren't getting the same, their voice wasn't heard maybe within the plant. So what they found is by creating a new department or a new group called data science and bringing new people on board with new experiences, their voice was being heard stronger. So it's something for companies to consider, but the idea of actually having a specific data science department or group of people to try to encourage and move this forward seems to be having the most positive effect on implementing change within manufacturing companies. But one word of warning, and again, this feedback came back through the survey, was that this is very obviously people orientated. You need the right people to do this work, and these people that are seen as data scientists and can utilize data ultimately to turn it into profit are in big demand, and not just in big demand in manufacturing. They're in big demand right across the spectrum, whether it be epidemiology these days with the study of viruses, or within the banking sector, all sectors. So data science is a hot subject. And I suppose one of the feedbacks were, if you have any kids about to go to college, they feel it's a really good area to get into. So just be warned, if you do as a manufacturer decide that you're going to concentrate more on data science and you want to maybe set up this data science department, the recruitment and getting the right people will be challenging. So I suppose better to be warned than not. So again, as I mentioned, this is a 50-page white paper, so I'm probably not doing it justice in these few minutes going through it, but some of the takeaways as well are analytics are at the heart of any digital transformation programs. And again, within the paper, it talks about the importance of cleansing data and making sure it's structured, because you need good data to ensure the information we're reporting back is correct. And that kind of leads into the second point as well, which is you need to have the data governance strategy. I do a lot of work in the life science industry myself, and data integrity is actually something that is being audited now by the likes of the FDA. They've, in the last 2 or 3 years, especially in pharma, they've put a real emphasis on this, because this making decisions on bad data is not a place you want to be. So FDA have realized this and have come down hard on this, and you can even see this, I suppose, with the time it's taking to release the drugs. The UK were complimented for how they went through the data and confirmed that the data back from the vaccine producers is good, and there's other agencies working through that at the moment. So again, better the data, it feeds right through and lots of different spectrums. So implement some startup analytics. What we find a lot with manufacturing IT projects is doing the proof of concepts are a good idea, but make sure those proof of concepts are scalable. We'll have a business case. The proof of concept is good as a demo to feedback to maybe senior management so they can invest further, but also kind of nurture some feedback from the operations people, and that also feeds into change management, letting them know what's coming. So so that would be seen as a good strategy, and drive opportunities towards prescriptive analytics. So again, maybe if you're looking at a roadmap, this is something you can put up as a goal to work towards, or a milestone to work towards. So as mentioned, very, very detailed white paper, large sample size, a lot of good input. They have the papers available to be read, but also there's some presentations and videos around it, all on the MESA website. So Megan, I don't know if it's okay to run the poll again, please. Has Has 2020 changed your company's perspective on the importance of digital analytics? Yes. Increased focus on applying machine learning, AI techniques? Yes. Increased focus on automated data collection? No change or reduced focus? So these questions are kind of being asked similar to the previous survey, whereas machine learning, AI techniques would be the higher maturity, whereas kind of automated data collection would reflect the moving towards the middle range of maturity. So yeah, so our audience today is matching up very neatly with the findings of the white paper. So what we're finding is that companies are moving. We're having 48% working towards mid-range maturity around analytics. Some companies seem to have maybe 1/3 of the audience here today is suggesting that the focus hasn't changed, and this could be down to a number of factors, such as we saw on the first slide, that the impacts with people on that maybe have held back projects this year. And then our 19% then of the audience are looking at machine learning and that, which is seen as a higher level of maturity. So it does kind of match up with the larger survey that was done with MESA and LNS. So thanks for that feedback. So a second white paper I'd like to discuss. Again, this document is probably in the 50-60 page realm. It's an older document published in 2016, but the steering group behind this document are actively working and close to releasing a new version of it. That said, like as I say, I use a lot of these white papers myself in my work. I find this a very good white paper. The work that was put into it 5-6 years ago, so I think stands up very well today. So the Smart Manufacturing Digital Roadmap by MESA. So what we're showing here is we have your business strategy kind of at the top and connected things. So there's ambition coming from senior management and the CXOs. They're hearing a lot of buzz around Industry 4, smart manufacturing concepts such as manufacturing as a core competency, mass customization, product as a service, manufacturing as a service. And so they're hearing these things. Yeah, we'd love to achieve these, but then at the same time, then you're hearing of new technologies, mobile, cloud, IoT, smart. So okay, so we have some technologies here, we have ambition here. How do we blend it together? So this is primarily what this white paper is about, was building out this and the various aspects of this. So the group developed out this platform detailing out the manufacturing IT elements in the middle. So we have concepts, and as part of the white paper as well, it goes into detailed discussions around Industry 4 and smart, industrial IoT, etc. It discusses digital thread, which Steve mentioned as well, and it also go into detail about messaging standards. For example, MESA is quite active in promoting a standard called B2MML, which is Business to Manufacturing Markup Language, and that focuses about communicating between the manufacturing layer and the enterprise layer. So it looks at the various standards and how these can be used to your advantage to execute strategies. So as can be seen in this graph here, we have for example, Steve mentioned as well, he mentioned manufacturing execution systems. That's specifically not called out here, but what you'll see is business process workflow, which is what a manufacturing execution system can help do. And then there's other factors in security, etc. But maybe not focusing totally on the technology. MESA is about manufacturing IT, but implementing manufacturing IT is not just about the technology. Surveys have shown that maybe the successful projects are maybe 80% down to the people and 20% down to the technology chosen. So MESA over the years is very focused in on this. So following your 80-20 rule, people side of this is extremely important. So one of the recommendations MESA would put forward, especially if you're kind of developing a roadmap, is make sure you're business benefit led. Even if this is a proof of concept, make sure your proof of concept has a business case, because this will feed into success, and then which will help change management. Secondly, as well, as I say, it's the technology is part of it, but you need to kind of establish where you're at the moment. So you need to look at your as-is process and your as-is maturity. And within that, then MESA would recommend kind of looking at the maturity of your people, looking at the maturity of your processes, how you're currently structured, and then also look at the manufacturing IT. So don't try boil the ocean. Don't try and go with the latest and greatest technologies if your people aren't ready, or if your processes aren't ready, aren't your structure. So a good roadmap will factor in all these 4 elements. So don't just be technology focused. Be business benefit led, and make sure you factor in all the aspects of your organization. And then you can get into this kind of looking at how best to kind of structure the roadmap. Are you going to go with a big bang approach? Most companies will find this difficult because they mightn't have the scope, the bandwidth, the people to be able to handle this change. So you might need to kind of look at a stepped approach. Again, kind of getting early wins is very important, because this feeds into change management. You want to get a positive association to your digital transformation project. Again, factoring in that success is 80% people driven, so getting people on board early and driving that success will have a major factor. And I mentioned proof of concept. So what I would recommend is, with a proof of concept, be business benefit led, and also make sure that proof of concept is scalable. So it's something that people can really kind of can see as a tangible, and something that you can grow towards. And all that, then again, I'll repeat myself about the people and nurturing a new culture. So if you follow these roadmaps, the technologies are shown here as a possible kind of technology roadmap, but the paper will also, and there's lots of other MESA papers on manufacturing maturity and the people, processes, and structure side of it. So the previous white paper was analytics. So there's within we have white paper to cover off that. We mentioned MES, we have security, of IoT. So you will find a white paper, you will find information behind all of these honeycombs within the MESA repository and the MESA library. So do encourage you to check it out. It's a really good source to start your journey towards digital transformation, or mature your digital transformation. And then you can complement that with the education if you want to get some formal education. And also we would encourage people that are already not MESA members, or those MESA members, to get involved, because by bouncing your ideas at people as well, it can be a really powerful thing. So yeah, no. So that concludes the two quick discussions on the white papers. So another polling question here now. How has COVID changed your digital transformation roadmap? Implementation has accelerated. Implementation has slowed. Scope and target has changed, and you hadn't got one before COVID, and you still don't. So. Okay, so what's interesting so far is that the slowed is lowest, I feel. We don't have a digital transformation strategy is showing up as 15%, which again might be reflective of the audience, and not everybody in this audience is a manufacturer. But in general, again, it seems to feed back to my first slide as well, that in general, there might have been some adjustment with COVID coming online, but once the dust has settled, companies again have picked up the pace when it comes to manufacturing IT and digital transformation projects. So that's kind of what we're seeing in the reports, and we're working with our own customers, and it's been reflected here today as well. So yes, that's interesting. So thanks very much for that, everybody. So at this stage now, we've kind of, myself and Steve have kind of done the intro and white papers. we have a panel sitting around the desk, virtual desk. I'm reminded a lot of these faces. The last time we might have met, there was definitely something else on the table, which was a lot of beer. So again, MESA is a good social outlet as well. You know, if you're a lot of like-minded people working together, coming across the same problems, and it's not all about work. We do try and have some fun on it as well. So yeah, so hopefully questions have come in. I'll pass it over to our chairman Uwe now, who will hopefully kick off this conversation for the next 20 minutes or so. So thanks very much.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Desmond and Stephen, for your input and your insight of highlighting, and welcome everyone to the panel roundtable discussion. As Desmond was mentioning, I'm Uwe Küppers, I'm the chairman of MESA and EMEA, and with me you see the people here on board, and I would just directly go into the interaction. So please feel free to add additional questions so that we can answer that. But I would start and ask, maybe starting with Roberto, how is the situation? Can you give us a bad or good example of using technology to solve the problems created by COVID-19?
Yes, of course. So thanks for the question. Actually, I have no bad example at the moment. I have only good example. What I can see at the moment in the market is the enforcement of a key market trends, which our better best practice, which was also a key area of investment recently. You know, due to the COVID, the interaction between people, as we said before, is more difficult, and that is affecting in a positive way in a push investment in bringing, let me say, more together people, which seems to be a contradiction. But you know, inside of any company, there are different organizations contributing to manufacturing, such as engineering department, quality department, and manufacturing. And their structure usually has a different silos. And one of the market trends is really to remove those silos and to bring people more and more in collaboration. And in doing that, of course, the collaboration cannot be done physically. So we need to have best practices like closed loop manufacturing, sharing new information about how to manufacture from engineering to production in terms of bill of operation, bill of material, electronic work instruction, and so forth. And I saw during the fiscal year 2020 a lot of investment in really enhancing this kind of best practice. And so the interaction between engineering with production is more and more driven by digital communication, and quality is less and less a silos, is more and more part of engineering, and therefore also all the information about control plan, how to execute quality inspection, feedback back from production to engineering to quality, more based on analytics, more based on electronic API, and so forth. And that is a positive effect of for COVID. So I saw during the fiscal year 20 a lot of investment in this direction.
Okay, great. Well, just to bring up, because you're saying the collaboration between the teams are getting stronger as well. Do you see as well that companies are moving more from a hierarchical structure into an agile structure where the teams are coming more agile together?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is the key point. So we are moving from a hierarchical level and to a more flat organization. In this regard, you know, we are used to talk about ISO 95 with a different level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, which maybe technologically wise still makes sense, but in terms of way of working and collaboration, because don't forget that when we say we have automation, we have a PLM, we have a SCADA, we have an MES, we have an ERP, behind this kind of technology, we have people, we have organization, and those organizations today should not be any longer structured in the as we should have cross-divisional processes enabling collaboration among them, because that is a real challenge the company have today. So because in the latest 20-30 years there was heavy investment on automation, and so of course there is still a room of improvement in terms of automation. But if you want to really to enhance the effectiveness of our company today, that is the real new frontier.
Thank you very much, Roberto. And Christoph, can you give your insight there a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. I think all in all, we have seen from our customers that the monitoring of the entire production processes, and this is also a good example of investing in the digitalization. The monitoring helps to plan in advance and to coordinate all the machines and the services in the best way possible. Therefore, we have had a customer which had a good example, who decided just in March, April, to change their production and just start manufacturing reusable masks, which are needed in high demand. And just 3 weeks later, they have been starting their production due to all their investments in the digitalization and the transparency on the shop floor, which enabled them to smoothly convert their production. And I think that's kind of the key factor to keep an eye on all areas of the production to be provided or to be bestly covered with the new situations.
All right, great. Michel, if you can give me your insight, what you have seen on the market there as well.
Yeah, I will take an example in food industry in France. I talked with a customer of mine that saying that during the first lockdown in March, April, remember this time in France, the restaurants are closed and schools are also closed. The consequence of this for the plant was they were facing with two production issues. The first is a production shift, as restaurants are closed and employees are working remotely. Globally, employees are working remotely from home. It means the product they have to provide are completely different. They change the rules in terms of product they have to produce in their portfolio. And secondly, employees in France, especially here, I am talking about production people, had the opportunity to stay at home without working, but paid by the government, in order to take care of children who are not going to school. It means they need a very high flexibility in the MES production planning, because they don't know in the morning how many people will be available to work. And I am not speaking about remote work. It's just people who are not in the plant to work.
Right. I think this is something we have seen in general, that the shift pattern within manufacturing companies has changed dramatically because of reducing the number or increasing the number of shifts and reducing number of people and therefore avoiding potential infections in there. Is that something you have seen as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So when we look to potential trends, you're seeing that which has been changed by COVID. I mean, several points we have discussed already, like we talk about budget behavior, change of budget, people behavior, technology, data usage, which I found quite interesting, where we see that people are really starting and saying, okay, it's important to have the accessibility to the data and having that knowledge then to be using this data in that way. But I want to come back to the people, because it's, from my perspective, a personal thing I'm really always forcing on. And Roberto was mentioning that before as well, that people are key in this whole environment. So we always talk about process, technology, and people. I think we continue to talk about process, technology, data, and people. But looking to the people, how do you see this, Desmond, from your perspective? How has the people behavior been changed during COVID, or what influence did COVID have on the people behavior suspect?
Yeah, I suppose like I can only speak from maybe some of my own experience working for different companies, but I think the first survey I showed, I think it kind of reflects human nature in a way, that in that it kind of retreat initially when we're under threat. People will retreat and maybe get their backs to the wall and try and suss things out a bit. And establish what was becoming the new norm, or becoming the new abnormal, I think is a better description. Hopefully we'll get back to something of a new norm in the future. So and again, from working with a lot of manufacturing companies, the one thing I was seeing with operations is they've had a tough year. Like, people have really are really tired. Like, you know, they're having to keep the factory going, keeping home life going, the mixing, having to work at home. The fear of you know, so it's really been a tough year, and I'm actually kind of surprised actually how good a lot of companies have done to keep the ship afloat during this time. And from, I suppose, from a technology perspective, I think there was an initial recall, but what this is telling us all is that the need for a good digital strategy or manufacturing IT strategy in a company is now becoming more evident than ever. I've just posted an answer there to a question around how can companies justify the cost, you know, and it's not really about justifying the spend. You need to justify the investment and look at your return. And I think COVID and what's happened, as Steve kind of pointed out as well, is highlighting, you know, the value a good manufacturing IT strategy will have, and it'll enable your company to move forward. And it's not just about the now as well. It's not about this industry 4.0 is often kind of referred to as a revolution. Like, I would disagree with that. It's not a revolution, because, you know, it's an evolution from what's been going on for the last 150 years in industry. And just because somebody's coined it and put a 4 before it doesn't mean anything new. Things are evolving. So, you know, and what's happened the last year has an impact on that evolution as well. And technologies are evolving. So companies need to kind of establish what's right for them. The people factor, very important, and then develop a strategy around that's achievable and will give a return on investment.
All right, excellent. I'm seeing we're already coming to the top of the hour. So, Stephen, maybe a last word from your side on the people side there.
Yeah, actually, I was just reading a question from Karina, which I was going to try and give a bit of an answer to. Karina's asking any funding opportunities for MSMEs to help them go digital via scaled proof of concept. And one thing I wanted to just say on that was, so two things actually. MESA as a body of experts that forms points of view will happily interact with government organizations who are interested in this sort of thing, you know, that they might potentially have innovation funds, etc. But they can ask MESA for its point of view on what's good to support. And the other side of that question, which is about scaled proof of concept, is that we realize and understand that while most of us are sort of technology focused and interest, actually the successful proof of concepts going to scale demands a different perspective, and it's the business perspective that we should start with. So we should all put aside our toys just for a short while we start with the business, and this is part of the process that MESA has sort of documented in its smart manufacturing working groups, etc.
Okay, great. Well, I would like to thank everyone for participating, and have in mind, if you want to become an active member, please feel free to join us at MESA. reach out to us at mesa.org or reach out to us individually. We will guide you in the right direction. If you are a MESA member and you are not active, just reach out to us and become a board member or work actively in the sessions there, which are there. Please have a look at mesa.org as well. And please answer the feedback questionnaire, and you will receive the last results of our MESA workshop, which we did in one event, which we hosted, which talks about the techniques for finding the payback of digitalization. So thank you all for participating, and please watch out your email. You will get the feedback request by email, and please send it back, and we will make sure that you get the results of the workshop we lately did there as well. Thank you very much for attending. Thanks to all the panelists for joining here, and have a great Christmas period. Stay safe and healthy, and we're looking forward in next year, where we will come up with the second and third session, where we talk about the COVID impact on discrete and process manufacturing environments, where we will have speakers from the discrete and process industry talking to us on their experience. Thank you very much, and again, Merry Christmas. Looking forward to you.
Uwe, can I also extend our thanks to our colleagues on the West Coast in the US who've stayed up late to help us run this webinar. I think it's gone very well. So to Megan and Brandy, thanks, and hope you get a good night's sleep now.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Desmond, for reminding me on that.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.